Hey guys, what is up? My name is Shablabo, and welcome to a brand new series. This series is going to be a beginner's guide to Path of Exile. We're going to start out with the easy stuff. In this episode, episode 1, we'll be talking about characters and character select, the basic of the basic, the very first thing you ever have to do in the game. And as the series progresses, we're going to cover slightly more complex topics. But in this first episode, like I said, we're going to be talking about character select and the benefits of each character. In the game, there are currently 6 classes. Each of the classes uses 1 or 2 of the 3 base stats. The 3 base stats are Strength, Intelligence, and Dexterity. Strength is what it sounds like, just up close and personal, just punch them in the face and kick their ass, that kind of shit. Intelligence is magical, like wizardry, fucking Harry Potter shit, that's what it is. And Dexterity is more speed and agility, dodging attacks and attacking fast. The first character we're going to talk about is the Templar. He's a strength, intelligence-based character, one of the 3 hybrid classes. He's essentially the paladin or the monk of this game, the Holy Knight. The next character or class we're going to talk about is the Shadow. He's a dexterity, intelligence hybrid. He's essentially the rogue of Path of Exile. He's supposed to attack fast and not get hit in the process. The third class we'll talk about is the Marauder. He's a pure strength class. He's just go at him with brute force, that's his concept. However, he can be played differently as every other character can. He's essentially the barbarian or the warrior of this game. The next class will be the Ranger, and as her name implies, she's the ranger of the game. She focuses only on dexterity. She's one of the other core classes, and that's all you need to know, she's a ranger. The 5th class we'll talk about is the Duelist. He's the 3rd and final of the hybrid classes. He uses strength and dexterity, and he focuses on using 2 one-handed weapons, in other words dual wielding, to deal damage while dodging and attacking really fast. The 6th and final character, or class, is the Witch. It's my personal favorite. She's a spellcaster type character, equivalent to the Wizard or I guess the Shaman from World of Warcraft. Pardon me if I was wrong, because I've never played World of Warcraft. So if you ever wanted to cast fireballs or summon the undead, the Witch would be the easiest to use. So you might be wondering at this point, what's the benefit of choosing a different class? For instance, why would you want to choose the Witch over the Duelist or the Marauder over the Templar? Well, it affects 3 things when you choose a class. The first of the 3 things it affects is what stats you start out with. The 3 hybrid classes, the Templar, the Duelist, and the Shadow, will start with increased stats that correspond with that class. For instance, the Templar would start with increased intelligence and strength, the Duelist with increased strength and dexterity, and the Shadow with increased dexterity and intelligence. Even though they have increased stats, they won't beat the core class in the corresponding stat. For instance, the Templar would have more strength and intelligence than any of the other classes. However, it will not beat the Witch in intelligence alone or the Marauder in strength alone. So you have to keep that in mind when you're choosing. So the second thing it affects is what rewards you get from quests. As you might expect, the Witch will get the most spellcasty type rewards. And that's not to say the Shadow and the Templar won't, it's just that they won't get them as often. The third thing it affects, and this has to be the most important part, is where you start on the skill tree. The skill tree is extremely intimidating at first, and I understand if it sets a lot of people off, but I would highly recommend you play through the game a little bit, and once you get accustomed to the game, the skill tree won't be as intimidating. But like I was saying, if you choose the Templar like I did, you would start here in the Templar tree. And as you can see, the Templar tree connects into the Witch tree, the Witch tree connects into the Shadow tree, and then that goes into the Ranger tree, then the Duelist tree, then the Marauder tree, and then back to the Templar. All the trees are connected, so choosing a Witch won't necessarily mean you're going to be just a Witch. You could be a Witch that decides to go Marauder, although it's not really recommended as you have to waste points to get there. And because of that, this game has so much customizability. That's what makes this game so unique and so great over something like Diablo 3. Anyways, like I was saying, choosing a class just affects where you start and what nodes are near your starting point. For instance, if I wanted to... this is a little bit more advanced, keep that in mind. If you wanted to go for Chaos Inoculation, which makes your life become 1 when you put your immune to chaos damage, which we'll cover in another episode. Starting in the Witch or the Shadow area would make the most sense, as it's quite close to both of them. However, choosing the Marauder down here would not, as you would have to go through all this crap just to get up to here. Other than that, guys, that's pretty much all I have to tell you about choosing a character. If it's the first time you've played this, or you've never played another action RPG, I would highly recommend you just choose a class that you think would be the most enjoyable. However, if you played before, or you just naturally try hard, I would recommend searching up on the forums a build for a class that you might like, and copy that build all the way through. I'm not the hugest fan of copying a build for the very first time. I would rather you guys experiment yourself for your first character up to around level 30, just so you get the core concept of the game. Then afterwards you can just scrap the character if you don't like it. But some people don't like doing that, and they just get angered if they don't do well. And it should be worthwhile to note that you will never be able to completely dominate this game like you could, let's say, Diablo 3. Just because how the damage and the armor and defense scales together, you can pretty much get one-shotted at one point in the game, regardless of how high your defense is. You can't necessarily tank everything, and you just can't face roll everything for sure. Just keep that in mind, and that's the end of this episode. The next episode, which hopefully I'll have out in the next week or so, will be talking about skills and items. So make sure you keep your eyes out for that, you guys, and I'll see you next time.